Welcome back. So we are now doing our trace, and if we hit an object, we are getting just the display name of that object and just printing it out. But of course we want to do more than that. So let's just come out of here and let's just first up, let's come into here and just go to our blueprints and let's just create a new blueprint class, and I'm going to make it an actor blueprint. Call it BP test 1. Control Shift S makes us save it. And it's going to be simple. Let's just go and grab a, hang on, add a cube, and we'll leave it called cube, like so, and maybe we will throw a material on there, make it look exciting, maybe one of these materials. Didn't work. Highlight that, get element 0, give it a material. We can change it, of course. Compile. Okay. So what we want to do is, we're going to throw this, or a set of these, into the game world just to see, well, just to see what we can do. So we want to add a variable. Now, if we go back to our player character first, let's have a look here. We have set screen text. So we're going to use this set screen text here to put a message on the screen when we interact with an object. So let's, what's this one called? Yeah, we set text. Okay, so we do. Okay. Yep, no problem. So let's do that. Sorry, we've come back to here. Oh, that's what I was going to. So the type, we just need it of text, type text. Okay, so let's create a new variable. And let's call it screen message. And it's going to be of type text, like so. Compile, save, and we can just say, let's just say screen message, but we're also going to make that accessible in the game world. And if we add a description to that, message displayed on screen. Okay. Nice. So we can grab, we just go back to our blueprints. We can just drag the, well, drag one off here and just drag it up so it's on there. And if we have a look in here, details, we have nothing. Why do we have nothing? We're rendering collision. What's going on? BP test, screen message. So where's my screen message disappeared to? Screen message. Oh, my bad. Screen message, there it is. So let's just change that to I am a cube. So we got one there, and let's just alt drag. A couple of those. Oops. My name is Fred. And my name is Jeff. Alright, so let's just move around a little bit so we're not bumping into each other. So what we want to have happen is we want to go to our trace, and when we come and collide with our new BPs, we want to put that on our screen. So what we can do is we come into here, and when this happens, we are going to do a cast here. So let's just in fact, I'm going to leave that there actually. I'm just going to leave that there. I'm going to cast to BP, what did I call it? BP test 1, that one. Alright, so now again, if it fails, that is okay, because if it's a wall or something that's not that, then again, I'm okay with that. So I'm going to just create a variable out of that. Oh, or should I? Maybe we won't at the moment because it's, yeah, okay. We might not do that. But what I want to do is I just want to get the screen message. Screen message, so get the screen message. And then we want to put it, we want to call set screen text. Set screen text to this message here. Now, of course, when we hit it, and we go set screen text, that's going to leave that on there unless we make sure it is removed. So let's just duplicate that. And we'll leave that empty. So if the cast fails, it's going to clear that. And also, way back here, if you recall, this one here, we want that to call the same. So I said that it wasn't a failure to do that. Just going to add, hopefully that might make it a bit easier to understand what's going on. So if we don't hit anything, it's going to clear our screen text. If we hit something and it does not successfully cast to our test object, it's going to clear the screen text. If it does cast to the test object, it's going to get the screen message and it's going to put that up on the screen for us. And you can go back and have a look at what we did, how we did that earlier on in an earlier video. So let's compile that, save. And we are still, we are still outputting. I kept that in here because it's kind of useful in the testing stages to know when we're actually hitting something. So let's just Control-Shift-S, make sure everything is saved, and then play. All right, so we should still see, yeah, we hit the floor. Let's go hit these objects, and we go to this, and there we go. I'm a cube. We come off that, and it's telling us still we're seeing what the display name is. If we hit this one, my name is Fred, and if we hit this one, we have my name is Jeff. Fantastic. Isn't that wonderful? So we can now interact with an object and get information from it and put something on the screen. So the next section is to create some interactivity. So at the moment we're capturing that. So let's just have a look and see what we need to do something interactive with that. Now let's have a look. So for instance, we already have our door here. So let's go and have a look at the BP. And what happens here? So we have an interact right here and we hit E. Now, yeah, we might want to look at a different way of doing this, of capturing that. So right now we're doing things a little bit differently. And we probably don't want to do it that way. So in fact, I'm just considering the amount of time we've got left. I think we've only got a short amount of time here. So we might come back to the door later. But we want to have a look at a different way of interacting. So, okay, let's just set up a simple interaction here. So what can we set up? We can just set up something like, let's call custom event, and let's call it my interact, and it's just going to do something simple. Print string, hey, we interacted. Okay, so question is, how do we go and do this? So we're gonna have to call this from the character this time. So previously we had interaction working in here. The interaction is going to work a little bit differently. So let's just actually come back to the door. And if you remember, we set up interaction. So where did we do that? On component begin overlap. Where are we? Here we go. So on when we enter our trigger volume, we check it that it's a first person character, which it's not going to be because we've created a different one, so that's not going to work here. And we've enabled input on here. All right. Now we're not going to do it that way this time because there are better ways to do it. So what we want to do instead, if we get a character trace, so we have a connection to our object, to the object that we're capturing. So we haven't actually created a variable. I will need to do that. The reason I didn't do it, but we're going to need to do it anyway. So let's just do that first up. So we're going to have to create a variable. So it's going to drag off there and say promote to variable, and we'll call that my hit object, and we're setting that like so. Now don't forget, so the same way that we cleared this, we need to clear this hit object as well. So let's just okay, we can grab hit object. This time, instead of hitting control on the keyboard, if I hit the alt key and drag, it allows me to set that variable, which is what we wanted to do before. So what I can do is I can just come up here, drag this to there. I'm going to clear this, just hit alt and click on that. I'm going to drag that there, and I'm going to do something clever and create a new node there, and I'm just going to drag that onto here. So that's going to basically do exactly the same thing. So we're coming from our branch, it's clearing the hit object, clearing the screen, and also if a cast fails, it's clearing the hit object and it's clearing the screen. We don't want to double up on that. Now, okay, all well and good. So fantastic. I'm now going to actually comment this. So see my line trace. My line trace. Starting to get fairly big here. Let's give it some color. Something similar to what we've got up there. That'll do. Cool. Okay, so now that we've got this, instead of having to set up, as we did in here, our enable input there, we're going to control all the input from the character. We could do it from the character controller, or we can do it from the player character. So the easiest one to do is to do it from the player character here. Now, what we don't have, and what I do want to set up, so we set this up to be E, on the door. We set that to be E. I'm going to leave that, that's fine. I'm actually going to create something though. If we come into here, where are we? Window, tools, what do we want? We want our edits. There we go, project settings. All right, so the best thing to do is to set up, instead of using the E key, it's always bad to do that. We're going to set up an action mapping here. I think I might have done this before. Yeah, when we did the pause game, we did that as well. So I just want an interact key. So I'm going to add an action mapping. I'm going to call this interact. And keyboard, E. And I think that's all we need. Yeah, I think that's fine. That's all we need. So now, if we come into our character, if we right click in here and we say interact, we now have an event, an input event called interact. That is the one we just created. So that is this interact event right here. So we're now able to get that. And what we want to do when we do that is we're going to grab the object that we've hit. So I'm going to drag that across. And we're just going to call my interact right there. So we can go my interact. Now don't forget though, okay, here we are getting it when we hit it, but we're clearing this out if we're not actually hitting one of these objects that we've created. So we could end up calling this when we don't actually have an object there. So we need to test somehow whether that is valid. We have this thing called validity or not. There's a couple of ways to do that. So we could drag off here and say is valid. That's fine. A better way to do it though is to create this as a validated get. So you can see this is convert to validated get. So if we do that, that's still getting the value. So let's just press, we go into here. If it's valid, then we do the interact. Okay, so if it's a valid object, we do the interact. If it's not valid, we do nothing. So I don't mind if the player hits the interact key. If we are not looking at an object, if there's not an object actually in scope, it's not going to do anything. So that's exactly what I want to have happen. If it is valid, it's going to call my interact. So that's what we want, I think. And I'm going to put some comments around this. So this is input action interact. So now it doesn't really matter, you know, what code is there. We're just calling it. We don't need to know what it does. It's just going to call that code. So at the moment it's pretty simple. All we're doing is, in this one, is we're just printing something to the screen. So again, Control-Shift-S to make sure everything's saved. Just going to hit play. This time, so I'm hitting E, nothing's happening. Cool. Go down there, hit E again, still nothing's happening. Great. If I come here and hit E, you can see it going there. If you're on the left-hand side, we hit interacted. In fact, if I turn that off, let's just come back into here and actually skip that. Just drag that through there and get rid of the print strings. So it's a little bit more obvious. Try that again. Okay, so we come over to the objects we've created. Okay, we hit E. Hey, we interacted. So we can use this now. This new interaction method. We come off, nothing happens. To do, well, almost anything we want to do. So we can create a pickup. We could use it to, say if we wanted to come over, change our lights so that we interact with our lights. We can't at the moment. Hit the E key. If we want it so that we can interact with the door, same sort of thing. And it changes the way things work. But this is really the way that you would be familiar with interaction occurring in most games. So I think we've done a fair bit there. I should check the time. I think we're running sort of close to the end of time. What we'll probably do, I think next time, is set up the door to do the same thing. There's a few extra things we're going to need to do this. Some sort of more complex interaction stuff. So for instance, let me just say, so we have the door here. Okay, that's fine. But these are different types of objects. So this is a different BP. So this brings up some interesting questions. We want to be able to interact with different types of objects. But we are using in our code, we're actually doing a cast to a particular BP. Now, that doesn't necessarily, well, the limitations there are that, well, what if we have other objects that we want to interact with, say doors or pickups or lights or what have you? We don't want to have them all of the same object. You could potentially have them all the same child object, but you'll find in practice what happens is that the number of like interactables actually increases beyond what you would normally, what you might sort of set up initially to use. So you end up with a whole lot of extra objects out there. So we need a different way to do that. And the way that we do that is by using something called an interface object or an interface BP. And we can test for that. We can test to see whether the blueprint supports a particular type of interface. And if it does, then we know that if we call the, say, interact function, it will support that interact function. And that's really important. So we know that we can call a particular function. We may not know what type of blueprint it is, but we know it supports that particular interface, and it's going to then support calling those functions. So that way we can allow it. So instead of having to be the same BP, we can just say, okay, does it support this particular interface? If the answer is yes, then we can just call the functions that are within that interface, and we know that those objects are going to support those. Again, I think we've done a fair bit this session. So I think we'll leave that for the next one. So next time what we'll do is we will create an interface function or an interface blueprint, and we will get that working with our trace function, with our line trace function, and be able to interact with multiple objects in our game world, and as long as they support that interface, we can interact with them. Okay, so we'll leave it there this time around. Next time we'll be doing that. So we'll catch you then.